Good morning, this is Pixie, another video, and it's on Boxing Day. Just waiting for this energy wave, so they say it was going to come. To be honest, I think it's been hitting the planet earlier than the actual date predicted. Whether it gets to a maximum strength, I don't know. I mean, I did notice some things last night, like sort of flashing sort of light. I was just sleeping, I just saw this a little spark there. And also I think with sort of the alternative media and sort of things like that, basically, or just media generally, I think everyone needs to deprogram themselves from it. They can get too rooted in, and and I see this in some of the people's videos as well. I mean, I know they're following everything, concerns about Nibiru, or Planet X, or whatever other name you want to give it. I mean, basically, yeah, there's plenty of signs of changes. I just pull yourself back to looking at the hard evidence. So you've got changes on the sun, whether that's normal or not, or whether it goes through a pattern. You've got an increased earthquakes. That could be some sort of well, it would be, if there's a pattern, a celestial pattern anyway. That's a normal cycle of the Earth. And there's objects heating up in the solar system, so they say, because they're shining brighter in the sky. So that's either from some type of energy. It could have been to do with this gamma wave, or it could be to do with actually a strong planetary body coming through that's causing them to heat up. And then there's also increased asteroids and things that will come this direction. But all these could be explained by alternative sources. You could say, well, these are natural phenomena, or we haven't really been here long enough, planet Earth, to really know the full extent of the patterns in the solar system, and how they kind of peter out would be the phrase to say. And so some of that is probably also a factor as well. I do hear kind of like a pressure wave or something in the morning. It's just like a sort of noise like that. It kind of comes and goes. I think my ears are fairly sensitive. I have a slightly larger ear bone as well, actually. So just something that runs in the family. So who knows? But I mean, even that could be something completely different. Or right, the range of tinnitus that I suffer from that seems to go sort of very in pitch and location in my head. It may give me the effect, the belief that possibly it's going through an ascension. Actually, it could be just a medical thing. So more like just de-ascending, more like to in health or something. It's hard to say. I guess the only other thing is that people said I got taller, which is unusual, because unless, and I mean, I haven't lost any sort of weight or anything. There's no reason why my spine would get longer. Probably eating some better minerals. Maybe minerals might have caused improved the bones, possibly. But it seems strange when people, different sources have said this to me, and there's no reason for them to say. They say, "Oh, you look taller," you know. And then, I mean, I saw my dad, and I thought, well, maybe. I said, "Dad, it's probably you're shrinking." So you could joke about that. But then there was, I think, my brother and basically sister-in-law I hadn't seen for about a year, I think, had basically said, have you grown, or what's going on here? You look taller. So I thought that's so odd that different people have said that to me. So there could be some truth in it. Maybe more energy. Maybe there's things that are activating DNA. There's just, I think, basically there's so many possibilities that you can't run with anything. I mean, it isn't fake news. This is a stupid label, because there's propaganda and other things like that. Even have all the full facts, you don't. I mean, news itself is just like gossip. It's based on some factual account, but a version of it that's spread out. I mean, there's no authority to news itself, but it's more speculative type news than anything else, that you kind of based on combination, maybe based on your own algorithms, basically, of how you see the world, or what you're aware of and things you've learned, and then you sort of coalesce these things in your mind together, and then produce it from better information. So it can run on instinct sometimes, or wisdom, or all sorts of stuff. It's only dangerous if you incite behaviour or actions based on that information. Like going to war. That would be based on fake news, because there's actually a financial interest. All the interests are not highlighted there, so it's and it's certain, I think these major things should have been voted on anyway. Things like going to war in a country. I mean, do the actual people want to get caught up in a war? What's the interest of the American people getting involved in Syria? Because Syria and America aren't that close. They're not our neighbours. There is none really. It's just this game between them and Russia. I did mention that possibly the plane that went down, and a big, massive earthquake in Chile. Could be a connection, and the connection would be the space weather in some way, and it may be a sort of a pulse. I mean, I think definitely there's some space weather that's different. There's stuff that's going on, influencing out there, but it's just so much, like saying we're enjoying cloud of helium and stuff like that, and all these other things. And then there's also people presenting one form of information, but they're trying to actually push their own agenda. They sort of watching these videos and then they start saying, well, this is evidence for flat Earth and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, I look on NASA's camera, I can see the planet's round. I mean, yeah, sure, they could go make a massive hoax, but it's a massive hoax. It just doesn't mean, it just seems like a pointless game. There's lots of possibility the planet's deformed, etc. But I don't think they're going that far as to basically lie that much. And also there's Antarctica. It's a bit like Antarctica. I saw it's like split in half. And I said, well, flat earthers won't believe that. And then I got all these comments, and it's like people that it's very, very odd. They're just going on about start debating their own things on it. I was thinking, well, they're not actually listening to what the question was, because it shows the Antarctic split in half, and I'm sure that doesn't really fit in their model so well. Or is it the Arctic circle that supposedly goes around the whole planet, or something like that? I don't know. Just that you can kind of run on instinct, but I think they got caught up with this. A government lies about everything and so on. I think they dilute the information and they create their own narratives. That's what happens. So what you do is you do your own research. I cannot tell you what the shape of the planet is because I haven't explored the whole planet. I only know a small little piece of it. And I kind of got to run on your spiritual instincts. Like I believe it's possibly a hollow Earth because I've heard that it rings from earthquakes, etc. But have I actually heard it ring from an earthquake? No. But the physics of my body has lots of empty space. So based on that, and I think most dense forms of matter have actually emptiness in some way, or with energy and frequency to hold their form. So a bit like atoms, you keep splitting atoms, they get smaller, smaller, smaller. But there's always been a empty space within inside. I mean, this is as above and so below. You can't have that if you don't have don't reflect what's outside of you. And so that's why I believe that. Or either that is there's lots of empty cavities within inside it. And I've also seen the experiment with NASA where they've had like a ball of water spinning, and it showed all the air goes into the middle and forms an air core, rather than the outside of the ball as it moves around. Or anything heavy goes in it goes to the outside than the in. So anything that's moving around, weight's pulled outwards. It's even in the middle of space, you spin something around, it will project the energy. Will pull two different ways. You create polarity. And so then they use that's how they create gravity artificially in space as well. They use something like that method of spinning the station. So that's my evidence for why I believe that the actual Earth's empty. I mean, yes, there's lots of information on scholars saying it's flat. I think maybe in some kind of other different dimension you could probably apply apply that. I don't think it's helpful though if we make these bold statements about something more solid. If a flat Earth wants to prove flat, they've really got to go up to the North Pole and go beyond that and bring back some photographic evidence. Just saying that basically the whole place is guarded by the military. Military bases are guarded by the military. I can't see they would want to guard the whole North Pole. There may be some restrictions why you should be on there, but I don't think they're just going to sort of kill you on sight. If you just took a blooming expedition just to find out, and you stuck to a particular area, there are areas that are not marked by countries as in control of them, and these are one of the sort of areas that possibly a expedition needs to do to prove that, because the theory is more so radical. Saying based on what you see, it's flat. Based on this, it's flat. My senses only see so far, and so therefore interpret the world in a particular way, and also based on what I believe the world is, that I project this as well. It's a bit like I could say, looking at my own image as I'm recording this, that I'm actually a flat person. If you said that to someone, oh, everything's flat in this world, even people, the people say, well, no, I'm round, look, see, and you could have this weird debate and say, well, that's what you believe you are, but actually you're not, and you can kind of see how sort of unusual people would end up alienating the world and information around them that would basically contradict what they believe, simply because it would be, let's say, some kind of a threat. And then they would say, oh yeah, and you know how they would probably end, they would just say that you're either indoctrinated or you work for the government or something so sort of far left or whatever, that it would just be a pointless conversation. You can get this with religious scholars or anybody, because they stick to what they've been taught rather than teach themselves different things, or just question everything. They just want to. They have a narrative and an agenda of their own that they're always pushing in throughout their sort of their focus on any sort of subject and so on. So it's a kind of a shame when things are like that, but that's the human condition, that we won't want to sort of do anything that would damage our roots or foundations, and as a result we stick to these sort of narratives even if they don't add up. So I'm not saying that anything's right or wrong, and all I'm saying is that you just got to present the right evidence based on your own experience and research. That's probably the best. And also I think you can't fully prove it. It's going to stick as a theory, but that applies to all subjects in that kind of category. Somebody can't say, oh, a scientist said, and that means it's true. That's just ridiculous. Stick a label on something doesn't give them some sort of higher. They're not some the hierarchy or some part of higher power or something. They just simply are people that have a particular type of job. In fact, they actually can be less credible, their sources, because they're told to stick to a certain narrative, and they only stick to like I say, they only do tests around a certain area of knowledge, and if it doesn't fit what their bosses want, then they're told they can't do it, or they get sacked. That's what happens, or they get killed off. If it's serious enough that it's going to sort of damage business, like say, okay, this example, say I create something that undermines Shell oil, and it's a new energy source or a new petrol or something, new fuel I can make, and it's cheap. It's a massive threat to them. They're going to say, right, well, especially if I worked for them. Formerly, if I worked for them and I left, and I said, well, I'm going to start my own company. They're going to go down a certain line of choices, and then these guys, they don't mess around because, is this too far to believe that they actually kill people off? Which kind of says how far linked they are into government, the claws of the corporation, how far they go. So, and then how they got to where they are in the world is basically by these methods. So, but I've got no proof, so that could be a complete sort of false paradigm that I've created. But I hear a lot that basically people that have come up with things. I guess the evidence is that they create something, they're challenged in court, and then they seem to die off of something like cancer or something pretty quickly afterwards. And I don't think it's just due to stress or something. It's possibly weaponized, because the same pattern is found quite frequently. with people that basically have something that's a threat to a corporate body. But some of it could be run by an algorithm. Is that people looking for particular information will find ways to support their narrative, even if it's wrong, and that could be quite easily done with just basically searching out information and just ignoring other information. So yeah, that's very true for that factor. So yeah. So anyways, just a quick conversation. I just wanted to sort of air some thoughts as I was heading on to work, and I hope you have a great Boxing Day, and speak to you soon.